Hi, I'm Sally Glass and welcome to episode 143 of Art This Week. In this episode, we visit the studio of Central Track resident Ari Richter. His show, The Skin I Live In, opens Saturday, August 25th, 2012 at Central Track. Now for Art This Week.
And it's in the form, as you see, of roughly a cat skin rug. So it's taking this idea from from taxidermy culture, which I have nothing personally to do with as far as taxidermy itself, but borrowing that aesthetic from taxidermy culture and then fabricating this object that emulates that, but on this much smaller scale, this house cat scale rather than like a wild cat scale. The full materials list, so we have the hair from the cat, we have the skin is, like a piece of like paper, kind of like an artist grade printmaking paper cut into the form of the skin. The tail built up from like wire, and the head actually is it's clay built on top of an actual cat skull. So this is like one rare case in my work where part of the piece actually comes from a non-renewable living resource, the actual skull of a cat, which I did obtain legally through like a biological, medical supply company. But it's one of those things that in hindsight, I haven't really made anything else like that. And, because, there are questions that I have as far as, is the appropriateness of kind of using this thing that probably came from like a, a kill shelter or whatever. But having already made it, I definitely, it's already become something that I'm kind of attached to. So, I'll keep this one for the time being. So these are a series of drawings that I've started specifically for my exhibition here at the end of August, and it's what the exhibition title actually gets its reference point, The Skin I Live In. These are a series of drawings made from my actual skin that's been pigmented, and it self-adheres to this glass, these glass panes. So kind of drawing with that skin as a mark-making tool. It's pretty specific. It's skin that comes from the inside of my mouth, in my cheeks, based just on a nervous habit of biting the inside of my cheeks, which is something I've had since I was a very young person. But it's bitten out from the inside of my cheeks, and then actually dyed externally with a food dye, and then adhered to the panes to make these images. So the images borrow from a few different aesthetics. There's kind of the aesthetics of tattoo culture and some art history, as well as kind of horror movie genre as well. And for me, the series in general really relates to the idea of anxiety, human anxiety. The actual process starts at this point of kind of an anxiety response that I have, this nervous biting, and then the pieces themselves. I want to kind of relate to how I define my anxiety in the world, the way that somebody maybe displays some aspect of themselves with a tattoo. These are kind of wearing myself on my sleeve, if you will, and so everything here is meant to essentially be a kind of an anxiety made form. I really want this to kind of transcend just being an image. I want it the material to make it into something different, being this this description of myself and my condition. These are my tales. These are a body of work that I've started specifically at this residency. So the skin pieces I started in preparation for coming here, and I've been working on them since I've been here. But these I completely started since coming here about 2 weeks ago now. And what they are is they're these tail forms that I've made using the many materials that I've been collecting over the over the past 2 or 3 years, collecting animal hair, cat hair, dog hair, as well as human hair of different kinds, different types, different parts of the body even, and then creating these forms in the form of the tails that I then adhere the hair too, in a similar way as I did with the the cat pieces I showed you earlier, and kind of creating these new objects. So the sculptures themselves, each one is kind of dictated by the material itself. So I take a lot of inspiration from the individual materials. So oftentimes I don't just get a material and I don't seek out a material thinking I'm going to do this. I a lot of times have to get the material, have it in a tactile sense, and work with it to see what I want to do with it. And it could have many applications. I mean, there's many ways that I could use the hair as a material to kind of create an object or an image. But with these ones in specific, I would look at the bulk material, at that bag of hair, and I'd say, okay, what kind of form could this take? What if in this case, knowing I want to make these tails for this project, thinking what would the tail look like from my friend's dog Kobe, or my friend who's a human, Doug. How would my friend Sandra's hair look if it were this tail, or how would in some cases more directly replicating how could I recreate my own dog Bonita's tail, something like a facsimile of that, with that material. So some of them are, as I was saying, some of them are direct kind of representations where I want it to really, as closely as I can make it, resemble the original source. Kind of like recreating it to look at again. But there's always this fantasy element to it as well. So, some of them, especially with like humans who don't generally have tails, I would have to come up with, this kind of fantasy idea of what would this tail be, but there's also this direct fantasy too of these things coming out of the wall in this way. So I want that, I want that to kind of break the illusion of it being a real thing. I build up an illusion in some cases with creating the form, and then break it by by sticking it out of that wall, where really I want to activate the wall as this kind of magical place to for these objects to exist. But one of the main themes that goes through all of this work, and especially this, is this kind of autobiographical sense. So I look inwardly for a lot of this work, and the reason I can name what all these sources are, where these things come from, is because the majority of these materials come from people and animals that are kind of intimate in my life, my friends and family, and and myself as well. So there's something that's definitely kind of autobiographical about this work. So yeah, in essence, the whole show is about my perspective, if not me directly. So so each of these, when I work with each of these, I'm thinking about that original source, and it's almost like I'm continuing this interaction with this source individual in my studio, even if they're not there. Maybe the way that like a portrait painter would have that interaction with somebody when they're making a portrait, even though these aren't direct, portraits in that sense.
We want to thank Ari for speaking with us. You can find more information about him at aririchter.com. More information on the gallery can be found at centraltrack.org. That's it for Art This Week. Thanks for watching.
It's my first show in Dallas, my first show in Texas, I believe. Oh. Yeah, if I'll have to ask my publicist, but I think it's my first, or my gallerist, I'll ask. Actually, it's my first show in Dallas for sure, and I'm super excited. I'm expecting to use the gallery as a space to just kind of experiment and arrange things. It's always fun to have a one-person exhibition because you just get to, kind of fantasize however you want within that space. But I just want to expose my work to a new group of people. I've had a great time so far being in this residency, meeting people in the Dallas community and kind of, putting myself out there.